a tutor for entrepreneurship. The code for entrepreneurship is ESH0S3. Entrepreneurship mostly looks at business, and in this particular course we'll look at, or in this particular tutorial, we'll look at who is an entrepreneur, characteristics of an entrepreneur, how would one become an entrepreneur, what are some of the challenges that they face that are faced in entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs, there's a difference between entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. Intrapreneurs and entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are people that notice opportunities. They see a gap in business, a gap in society, mostly to do with business, and they take the initiative to mobilize resources to make new goods or services to fill in that gap. So where there's a problem, they see an opportunity. Those are entrepreneurs. Intrapreneurs also notice opportunities and they take initiative to mobilize resources. However, entrepreneurs work in organizations. They make the organization continue being innovative, and they identify certain gaps that their organizations or products from those organizations of services can fit in and close that gap. So the entrepreneurs mostly work on the creativity or in innovation on the side of firms. Entrepreneurs, they are individuals. So entrepreneurs, those people who mostly work in organizations, they find themselves that they tend to become entrepreneurs with time. Entrepreneurs, these work in organizations, but not every organizations, but organizations that allow creativity, or learning organizations that want to expand, diversify, allow their employees to do things better. Okay? And organizations want to form, for example, when they want to become product champions, they bring in entrepreneurs who bring in new ideas, and these people take the ownership of a product from concept to market. They also keep them separate from the rest of the organization. They allow these employees to look for ways on how to create smaller companies within a bigger organization, and then they reward them for the innovation that they find themselves in. Now, smaller businesses, smaller business owners, these are entrepreneurs. These entrepreneurs are people who own small companies, and sometimes they could be about 50 people. Larger economies, they go up to 500, but they should not be more than 500. But in our case, because of the smaller population, we may even be looking at companies that have less than 20 employees. Okay, and then it's found that almost half of the population are people employed by smaller business, 47%, which is quite high. Okay, now employee satisfaction. Statistics or research that has been carried over a period of time, even recent times, it has found that in companies with less than 50 employees, 44% are found to be dissatisfied. In companies with 50 to less than 1,000 employees, 31% are dissatisfied. And businesses with more than 1,000 employees, it's found that it's less, about 28% of people are dissatisfied. Now we can ask ourselves why. Now, what are the advantages of a smaller business? One of the advantages of a smaller business or entrepreneurship is greater opportunity to get rich through stock options. Employees are allowed to buy shares within the organization. They identify with the organization. So employees tend to get not only their salaries but also dividends. Employees feel more important. They feel appreciated because they are part of the decision making. Employees feel more secure. Employees know whether the company is making loss or profit. The employees tend to identify with the company. And then there is also the comfort zone. Now, what are some of the disadvantages of a small business? There's lower guaranteed pay. If the company doesn't do very well, the salary is not guaranteed. There are also fewer benefits. Employees tend to be jack of all trades. They tend to do more. There's a lot of job enlargement, a lot of asking, a lot of coercion, a lot of persuasion, and then it's also difficult to move from a smaller company to a bigger company. And there's also so much fluctuations to do with salaries. Now, these entrepreneurs, who are they? There are certain common trends that we realize from entrepreneurs from different walks of life. Generally, they are original thinkers. They are risk takers. They take responsibility for the decisions that they make. They also set very high standards for themselves and those people that they work with. They are self-employed, and mostly this is because their parents were self-employed. Interesting part is that entrepreneurs, most of them are firstborns, and they tend to be between the age of 30 and 50, the majority, when they start their business. The other interesting part about entrepreneurs from our findings is that most of them are well educated. 80% would have the first degree, about a third of them would have a graduate or honors degree or something like that. Now, successful and unsuccessful entrepreneurs. Which type of entrepreneurs are successful and which ones are unsuccessful? The successful ones are those who are very creative, who are very innovative, who position themselves in shifting or new markets. Those who create new products, they create new processes, they create new delivery methods. They are always thinking, they are innovative, they are creative. The unsuccessful ones are those who are poor managers, who have low work ethics, who are inefficient, who are unable to plan, and then they can also not manage their resources very well. Those tend to fail. Okay? What are characteristics of entrepreneurs? There are three major characteristics of entrepreneurs. There's the key personal attributes, there's strong managerial competencies, there's good technical skills, and these three tend to translate into a successful entrepreneur. Key personal attributes, we have to realize that entrepreneurs are made. They are not born. So entrepreneurs are based on initiative, or entrepreneurship is based on initiative, creativity, innovation. Many of these key attributes are developed early in life with a family, for example, where the business meant something, or these were born in families where parents were self-employed. They encourage independence, achievement, and responsibilities. Or these are firstborns who tend to have more entrepreneurial attributes because they receive more attention, try out different things, try to be independent at an early age, and they develop a lot of confidence. Entrepreneurial careers, there's the idea that entrepreneurial success leads to more entrepreneurial activity. Companies, they tend to have two major issues here. We see corridor principle and serial entrepreneurs. The corridor principles is where using one business to start or acquire others and then repeating the process. That's a corridor principle. For example, you start a shoe repairing company, then you have shoe polishing company, another one, you are in the same corridor, same line of business. Serial entrepreneurs are people who found or operate, a person who founds or operates multiple companies during one's career. So you could be in transport, you could be in bakery, you could be in farming. Those are serial entrepreneurs. So they're different from the corridor ones. So key personal attributes, we continue with that, and then we see the need for achievement. A person's desire either for excellency or to succeed in competitive solutions, it helps in achievement. You should aim at excellency. An entrepreneur or a person who aims at excellency or to compete aggressively in the market tends to be successful. The person who takes up responsibility, or those who are high achievers, who set goals that are realistic and want immediate feedback on their performance, for example, they also achieve, and then the success is measured in terms of what these efforts are accomplished. Then in this case, we mostly refer ourselves to McClelland research. The desire for independence. Entrepreneurs often seek independence from others. They want to do their own thing. They want to develop. They want to excel, and therefore they tend to move away from partnerships and continue with their own stuff. So the entrepreneurs tend not to do very well in large bureaucratic organizations. They tend to shy away from that, and because they have internal self-drive, they are confident in their abilities, and they possess a great deal of respect, self-respect. Now, self-confidence plays a role in entrepreneurship, and you find that most of the firstborns have a lot of self-confidence because of the high risks involved in running an entrepreneurial organization. Self-confidence, being upbeat, is key. Otherwise, it may lead to serious health problems, heart attacks, suicide, and all kinds of stuff. So self-confidence plays a role in entrepreneurship. Then a success track record leads to improved self-confidence and self-esteem. Self-confidence also enables the person to be optimistic in presenting the firm to employees and customers alike. Because you do most of the marketing yourself, you have come up with an idea, you have to sell your idea, you have to implement your idea. Self-confidence matters a lot. And then there's also self-sacrifice. An entrepreneur needs to sacrifice a lot. It's essential. It's something that can't be quantified, and success has a high price, and mostly it demands a lot of self-sacrifice. Technical proficiency. We also realize that entrepreneurs tend to demonstrate strong technical skills. Now, technical skills do not necessarily mean IT skills, but these entrepreneurs tend to be independent in a number of ways, repairing their own car, for example, welding, creating, or planning their own business and all kinds of stuff. So they have those technical skills, and typically bringing some related experience to this, their business ventures. For example, successful car dealers usually have a lot of technical knowledge about selling and servicing automobiles. So he may have some mechanical skills. Then he understands cars. He knows the different brands. He can advise accordingly. So you find that such a person will be a car dealer. And also when it comes to computers, the same. And entrepreneurs tend to have different gifts which they promote over a period of time and develop. and they become successful or confident in those areas that they feel confident in. And then there's the issue of planning. A business plan is one of the issues when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's important for an entrepreneur to understand what is a business plan, what is its value, how can you design a business plan and understand it fully, because a business plan in actual fact turns ideas into reality. Now let's look at the questions so far. What we have done, we have tried to understand what are the motivations for owning a business, whether one should start a business or one should buy a business, where and what is to what and where is the market for what one wants to sell, how much will it all cost him, should the company be domestic or global. Okay, now motivations. Let's look at motivations. Deciding on the motivations would direct one or give guidance to one on the type of business that fits the person best. There are different types of businesses. For example, lifestyle venture, for example, beauty, exercises, fitness centers, health centers, small profit ventures, high growth ventures. You need to understand what you want to do. For example, a lifestyle venture, a company that provides its owner independence, autonomy, and control, and it's mostly run out of the household. It provides flexibility in terms of hours, meeting places, attire. It also aligns one's personal interests and hobbies with a desire to make a profit. Small profit venture, not concentrated on pushing the envelope and growing inordinately large, if small profit venture does not really focus on making profit per se. It's just to be content with making a living. Okay, high growth ventures, here the goal is to make as much profit as possible and grow. It concentrates on pushing an envelope and growing as large as possible. It focuses on innovation, creativity. Now, what about buying and selling? Buying or sell? Should I start my own business? Should I buy my business? Should I sell it? What about starting my own? So starting is the cheapest, but it's a very difficult. It requires most planning. It requires a lot of research. Buying is expensive, may be out of reach. It may be expensive venture. Selling, if I sell my business, then what do I remain with? So in buying, it requires less planning and research, for example. Selling, I may sell my business, then I think of buying another business or starting another one, but I'm taking a risk. Franchise, for example, Nando's, KFC, Hungry Lion, it's a business run by an individual or an organization, and then you just get the right to market a certain product or certain goods. Now the market. On the market, we need to look at, an entrepreneur needs to look at planning and research, needs to do a proper research, needs to plan accordingly, and then needs to do extensive market surveys, look at magazines, offer polls, and do all kinds of stuff before introducing a product in the market. What about the cost? Now, when it comes to costing for an entrepreneur, you need to plan realistically. You should not overestimate your profits. You should not underestimate your costs. Now, underestimating costs is one of the challenges when it comes to entrepreneurs. They tend not to quantify certain efforts, for example, transportation, time spent, things like that. And then profits, they tend to think big about profits, and when the profit does not come the way they anticipated, they feel very discouraged. Now, for an entrepreneur, there are sources of funds, or where someone can get some money. You can go to the bank. You can also get other people who can invest into the business, or you may get some donor or some sponsor. Now, when it comes to domestic or global, whether the business should be domestic or should be global, we look at the drawbacks to global. For example, we need more research. It's difficult sometimes to access certain places. There's more travel time required. There are more consideration. There are rules, policies, cultures, different cultures that need to be taken note of. Global, the advantage is that there are more human resources. There's a bigger market. There's more demand. There's more financing, and easier to start global than to start from domestic and then go global. Now, on entrepreneurship, whether the issues about growth pressures, once the business starts, the entrepreneurs often find that they feel more pressure to use formal methods to lead their organizations, because when you start your business, there's a lot of informal aspects. For example, working long hours, having your family to help you out and they are not remunerated, and all kinds of stuff. But as the business grows, the family members may need to be engaged formally, and then there should be some distinction, or there's need to distinguish between the business and the individual. And this formalization process may compromise some of the entrepreneur spirit, and it needs to be more focused so that the organization becomes organized, and then you get more financial returns. It may also end up as a very costly venture. There are 6 major business dimensions when it comes to entrepreneur, how it differs with formal organizations. For example, strategic orientation. An entrepreneur will have its own plan, and sometimes these plans are not long-term plans. But formal organizations need to have a strategic orientation. There's need for commitment to opportunity, commitment to resources, control of resources, management structure, compensation policy, which you may not find in an entrepreneur environment. Now, entrepreneurship, there's the growth pressures that we may see. There's business dimension, entrepreneur organization, and formal organization. Now, there are differences to that. For example, in a business dimension, we find that there's strategic orientation. Entrepreneur organization just seeks an opportunity and finds ways of setting up that gap. Formal organization, it controls resources. It's very slow to take a risk. Management structure for business dimension, it will have a proper management structure. Entrepreneurship, it's mostly flat. It's a one-man show. It may be a family business, but for formal organization, you need a clearly defined authority and responsibility. When it comes to commitment to resources, business dimension, there's a commitment to resources, there's the issue of capital, people, equipment, and for entrepreneur, there's lack of stable needs and resource basis, and for formal organization, there's systematic planning systems in place. Now, if the entrepreneur business wants to go global, what happens? Moving from domestic to worldwide expansion, globalization can be extremely rewarding for entrepreneurs because there's more money, there's a bigger market, there are more opportunities, and the business will be exposed. However, it's a huge undertaking. Adapting one's business to operate in the global market can lead to a decrease in ownership and a forced focus on raising people to keep the business alive. So we need to start thinking. Thinking as an entrepreneur has to think whether to sell out, whether to move from private to public in order for security purposes. Managing a family business, there are challenges, just like in global. Managing family businesses, families normally fight, and also friends fight. So those are some of the reasons, two reasons that it's not advisable for an entrepreneur to go into business with friends or family, and mostly the fights will be based around money, and this can breed its potential for breeding arguments, disagreements, bad blood between friends, siblings concerning money. So fighting can occur at any stage, early stages, or when the business starts making profit, and then you have these long hours of working and the pay is not there. Often success, people judge the business by the money that is coming in. So there are 6 steps to help one to lead to a successful family business. For example, you should have clear job responsibilities, clear hiring criteria, clear plan for management transition, agreement on whether and when to sell business, commitment to solving conflicts quickly. Outside advisors could also be used to mediate conflicts. So clarity when it comes to business, family business, is key. You also need to start thinking about operational versus survival issues, operational decisions about the economics of the business, how to balance that with rational and family obligation criteria, day-to-day grind, and then survival develop out of a lack of attention on the operational issues within the business. For example, face-starting problems, ultimately compromise livelihood, and all kinds of stuff. So there should be a balance between operational and survival issues. The problems of family, for example, what if you don't get along in the family and everybody's involved in the business? What happens? If there's a divorce, the business is not doing very well, or there's low morale and motivation, what happens? What about corporate entrepreneurs? Now, these are people who work within the organizations and they bring about innovations. They see a gap in society or a gap in the market, and they encourage, they create a certain product to ensure that that gap is satisfied or filled. So these 10 new ideas into profitable realities. Now, not everybody in the organization has the ability to become an entrepreneur. It takes well-developed strategic action, support, teamwork, communication abilities, empowerment of the employees, and all kinds of stuff to ensure that there's entrepreneurship within the organizations. So organizations that direct themselves through innovation have the following characteristics. For example, there's commitment from senior management, flexible organizational design, autonomy of the venture, team, competent or talented people, incentives and rewards, and then you have a proper control system. Now, these entrepreneurs, they tend to help in forward thinking in order for the organization to have long-term benefits. And these, they create islands, which you call skookworks, which are islands or departments or components within the organization which tend to work independently, mostly on innovation, creativity, looking at ways on how to expand the company. So in this course, we have looked at who is an entrepreneur, for example. We have also looked at the characteristics of an entrepreneur, the importance of planning when it comes to an entrepreneur, the issues about growth, managing family business, and corporate entrepreneurship.